Bosko Baker is a busker in Quebec City. Now say that 3 times fast. Bosko Baker is a busker in Quebec City. Recent changes up in Quebec requires musicians to sing only in French or play instrumental music in key tourist areas. Now, some people say this limits artistic freedom and it harms the diverse street music scene. The city of Quebec defends the move. They say it's a way to highlight Quebec's francophone culture. And, some people are questioning, why is it allowed for restaurants and bars to blare English pop music at all hours, but buskers must sing in French. Let's now go to Quebec City, where we find Bosko Baker. Bosko, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me.
How long have you been busking?
I've been busking for nearly 15 years now.
How'd you get into it? Why'd you get into it?
I was traveling to make money while traveling with friends and, didn't want to stop traveling. I was broke. I had my instrument with me, and it's a good way to connect with people as well. It's a great way to make friends. Good way to meet other musicians when you're in a different city. And
so you ended up in Quebec City?
I did, yeah. I ended up in Quebec City. I guess the first time I was here, 9 years ago for the first time.
9 years. Okay, so tell me about why you've, stayed connected to Quebec City. Why you play in Quebec City? Why Quebec City is so near and dear to you?
Yeah, so I have 2 children in Quebec City.
Uh-huh.
There's, I also just have lots of friends. I came here for a summer. I was street performing, busking in New Orleans. And I met a couple from Quebec that was also down there street performing. We just got along great. They brought me back to Quebec City for a summer. I fell in love with the culture, with the people, with the way of life here. And
So obviously you've embraced Quebec City and its culture. City says this is all about Quebec City's culture. What's your take on these new regulations?
I feel like the intention is good, but I feel like the way they go about it is really backwards. We're happy to see a lot of my musician friends are separatists, very Quebec, hardcore Quebec lovers, and we'll sing in French, but we feel like this law really limits artistic freedom of expression, and that's kind of at the end of the day, it's just that we think that street performers should be able to sing and do as they please, as long as you're not hurting anybody or causing some kind of disruptive scene. But even then, to just not be able to sing in whatever language you choose, we find it pretty limiting, to say it politely.
Yeah, listen, the geographic limitations, so I said key tourist areas, right? Now, it seems like, I go to Quebec, by the way, all the time, right? My wife, her family is up in Quebec City, so we go every now and again. I love Quebec City. But it seems to me like almost if you limit the key tourist areas, well, it's almost like a de facto limiting the whole city when it comes down to it. But maybe I'm off base here. The geographic stuff, just how limiting is that?
No, there's not much there's not many other areas to busk in Quebec City besides, the tourist hubs. So the city kind of has been saying there's 50 locations. We're only limiting 2 to French. And actually we pushed back, and now, people are allowed to sing autochtone, native languages. So we're really happy about that. That's a great first step, because that we're also okay, that's ridiculous. You can't be colonizers and then limiting the people you colonize. You tell them they can't sing on their native land. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But, however, the city's there's 50 spots, other spots you can busk, whatever. But, there's really only the 2 that they limited are the 2 kind of coveted spots that everyone plays at. The other 48 you're legally allowed to play there, but nobody plays there.
Nobody. Okay, gotcha. So that's it, right? So I saw that too. That this said, well, you've got 50 spots you can play, but if there are spots where nobody is and nobody would play there, it defeats the whole purpose. Okay. Yeah. So let me ask you about the pushback, right, from you and your fellow artists. So tell me about how you've been fighting this.
So a good dear friend of mine and colleague, his name is Bertie Veilleux. He's a native Quebecer. He grew up here, he's been playing. He's a professional violin player since he's 12 years old. He's taught in schools in Quebec City. He's toured with bands. He's still a street performer because he loves to do that. He's also having meetings today and going to the city council and having interviews. And, we're trying to open up a conversation with the city because the law was just told right before the season opened. They were like, okay, there's this new law. And we're kind of like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Like, we need to get a repertoire ready. We have a few songs in French that we sang already. Now we're translating other songs that we sing in English to meet the requirements. However, yeah, we're hoping that, they can say, okay, look, present us a repertoire, at least 50% Francophone music. But, it's just the thing we also find weird is that it's just the parole, just the lyrics you can't sing in English, but you can play American music, Chinese music, Indian music. You can play Spanish music. You can play any music you want as long as you're not singing in those languages.
That's kind of crazy, huh? Obviously, because there's there's some music that just would not fit. Like if you're in old Quebec, there's all types of world music that you could play that just would not fit in, but you could play it as long as it's instrumental. But you can't. Yeah. It's not. So let me ask you how it's impacted you so far. Have you cut back on your performances? Do you have less income coming in because of this?
So I just returned from a Europe tour because my band was on tour in Europe early this summer, and we just got back. And so this is actually the first week we were going to start street performing. So we will see. I know I went today to go get our spot because we do a little pige, like a draw with the other artists, and they were all asking me like, "Oh, okay, like how's it going? You're going to play instrumentals? What are you going to do today?" And no. So I don't know. Today will actually be the first day I go out and street perform in the old town. So
Bosko,
we'll see how it goes.
Bosko, listening to you, right, and how you pepper your own language with French, right? Pige and parole before instead of lyrics, right? It's so clear you love Quebec. You've integrated and all of that, and I guess. Like, if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't be feeling the love from Quebec City right now. I wonder if that's how you do feel.
Yeah, a bit. I mean, my band is quite loved in Quebec. We're known around the province. We play old-time New Orleans swing music with a string band. We're quite loved and well-known. We're playing the Mont Tremblant Blues Festival this year. We're playing Shazam Fest. I'm playing Festive Face St. Paul. We're playing a lot of great festivals and a lot of great venues too, like Rindel and Saint Jacques de Lys, like a lot of great places. And then, my hometown city, which is a bilingual city, it's in a bilingual country, tells me, you can no longer sing in your two favorite places in your native tongue because, I'm an immigrant. And so I love it here. I chose to live here. I chose to raise my kids here. I will happily speak the language when I'm out and about. And, I love Quebec City. I love it so much here.
Yeah.
But just not being able to have that artistic freedom of singing in which language when I choose is, it's quite frustrating. Honestly, I felt singled out at first.
Well, Bosko, let me tell you, you're getting some love on our text line here. People that have seen you perform before and love your music. Can I just ask you to wrap up here just on busking? Is it lucrative? Maybe not the right word, but is it a good way to make a living? I know obviously you go on tour in Europe and you do shows, but the busking side of things, do you do it more for love, or is it actually a great way of bringing in some money in the summer months?
So for me, it was like a perfect way to get started as a musician. I didn't have gigs coming to Quebec. It was a great way to get my chops up, to meet other musicians. I was doing it professionally for a while, full time. That's a tough life. You have to really hustle. But I did that for many, many years. Now kids, I prefer to have a bit more stable gig life and stuff. But yeah, it can be quite viable if you put in the work, and it's a great way to learn how to perform. I think my buddy Birdie, who I had mentioned earlier, said it's a great start, and then like it's a great place to start or a great last resort for musicians if you want to, test your show, if you want to test some new songs, if you want to learn how to perform, you're gonna gain these skills by street performing.
Bosko, listen, you're getting the love from our listeners. Thanks so much for sharing the story from Quebec City, and hopefully we can talk again in the future. Thanks so much.
Yeah, such a pleasure. Come by and see us next time you're in town. Eh?
Absolutely. That's Bosko Baker right there, veteran Quebec City busker and street music advocate.